Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrives in Brasilia after attending the 17th BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro. The Prime Minister will hold bilateral talks with President Lula on key areas of cooperation. BRICS leaders push for empowering the global south, reforms and responsible AI. Prime Minister Modi urges for lead by example approach. Also says that for India, climate justice is not an option, it's a moral duty. And both Trump and Netanyahu express optimism of a ceasefire in Gaza, as Netanyahu is set to visit the White House today. Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Brasilia after attending the BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro. And the Prime Minister is in Brasilia for his state visit to Brasilia, where he will hold bilateral discussions with the Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. This will be on broadening of the strategic partnership that the two nations share with each other in areas of mutual interest, and which will include trade, of course, defense, energy is there, space technology and agriculture, health. People-to-people linkages are, of course, the foundation as well. And this is a form of dance called the Batala dance. Our correspondent Neeraj tells us a little bit about it a little earlier. Batala group Brasilia is being led by a lady called Tati Fernandes. Earlier, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had addressed the session on environment COP30 and global health at the BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro. And in his intervention, the Prime Minister had stressed on strengthening shared efforts to make the planet healthier. The Prime Minister noted that for India, climate change and environment protection have always been subjects of the topmost priority. This has also been a part of our ancient culture. For India, in fact, climate change is not merely an issue of energy, it is about maintaining balance between life and nature. India is driven by the spirit of people, planet and progress, is what the Prime Minister said. Now, India has launched several initiatives like the Mission Life, Lifestyle for the Environment. Then there would be Ek Ped Maa Ke Naam, a tree in the name of your mother. International Solar Alliance. Also, Coalition for the Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. These are initiatives where India is playing a significant role. There's the Green Hydrogen Mission as well. Huge environmental contributions that India is rallying together. Global Biofuels Alliance is another one of them. And then there's the International Big Cats Alliance. Big initiatives to try and preserve big cats in different countries. Not only lions and tigers, but leopards, cheetahs. India was in fact the first country to achieve the Paris climate commitments. This is well before schedule. Without technology transfer, affordable financing for countries in need is going to be a problem. For India, climate justice is not an option, it's a moral duty. And in fact, climate will just remain talks. The health of our people and planet is interconnected, is what the Prime Minister says. And we remember the COVID-19 pandemic, which taught us that viruses do not arrive with visas. They, in fact, don't even have passports for the solutions. So that's an important statement made. and hence we have to strengthen shared efforts to make our planet healthier. Prime Minister Narendra Modi met with the President of Uruguay, Yamandu Orsi. This happened on the sidelines of the BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro. The two leaders, they discussed the full spectrum of bilateral relations. The key area of discussion, it was on strengthening trade and investment between the two countries. That is, both sides have expressed an interest in the expansion also of the India-Mercosur preferential trade agreement that aims to unlock greater economic potential and trade complementarities. So they're looking for greater areas of trade cooperation, and the Prime Minister has expressed his gratitude to President Orsi for the strong condemnation of the barbaric terrorist attack in Pahalgam, and also he's appreciated Uruguay's solidarity with India in the fight against terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also met the President of Bolivia, Luis Alberto Arce. This happened in Rio de Janeiro on the sidelines of the 17th BRICS summit. Now, this meeting was important because they reviewed, the two leaders, the two principals, they reviewed bilateral cooperation in all its forms, and they've expressed satisfaction with the progress achieved. Especially, they've expressed satisfaction over the ongoing development cooperation between the two countries. They've looked at the quick impact projects, the capacity building initiatives under ITEC scholarship programs. They find that progress has been made. Prime Minister Modi has expressed solidarity with the people of Bolivia. This is in the wake of the severe flooding that took place between March and April of this year in La Paz, particularly, several other parts of the country as well. And he congratulated Bolivia on joining the International Solar Alliance. Prime Minister conveyed his best wishes on the historic occasion of Bolivia's 200 years of independence. Earlier, Prime Minister Modi addressed the inaugural session of the Reform on Global Governance and Peace and Security, as well as a session on strengthening multilateral economic, financial affairs and artificial intelligence at the 17th BRICS Summit in Rio de Janeiro. The Prime Minister underlined that terrorism was a grave threat facing humanity. The Prime Minister called for working towards responsible AI.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the inaugural session on reform of global governance and peace and security, as well as session on strengthening multilateral economic financial affairs and artificial intelligence at the 17th BRICS Summit in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. In his address at the inaugural session on reform of global governance and peace and security, Prime Minister Modi reaffirmed India's commitment to enhancing the voice of the Global South. PM Modi stated that global governance institutions such as UN Security Council, the International Monetary Fund, World Bank, and the World Trade Organization must undergo urgent reform to reflect contemporary realities. Calling for strong global action against terrorism, Prime Minister Modi noted that those funding, promoting, or providing safe havens to terrorists must be dealt with in the harshest terms.
Honorable Prime Minister underlined that terrorism was a grave threat facing humanity. In this context, he noted that all the leaders have condemned Pahalgam terrorist attack in strongest terms.
While in his address at the session on strengthening multilateral economic financial affairs and artificial intelligence, Prime Minister Modi said that BRICS could play an important role in shaping a multipolar world. Prime Minister Modi offered 4 suggestions. First, BRICS New Development Bank must follow demand-driven principle and long-term sustainability for granting projects. 2. The group considers setting up a science and research repository which could benefit the Global South countries. 3. Focus must be given to make the supply chain of critical minerals secured and resilient. And number 4, group should work on responsible AI while looking into the concerns of AI governance. It should also give equal importance to promoting innovation in the field. At the conclusion of the leaders' session, member countries adopted the Rio de Janeiro Declaration. The leaders in the declaration noted that We reiterate our support for a comprehensive reform of the United Nations, including its Security Council, with a view to making it more democratic, representative, effective, and efficient. We condemn in the strongest terms the terrorist attack in Jammu and Kashmir on 22nd April 2025, during which 26 people were killed and many more injured. We reaffirm our commitment to combating terrorism in all its forms and manifestations, including the cross border movement of terrorists, terrorism financing, and safe havens. We extend full support to India for its BRICS chairship in 2026 and holding the 18th BRICS summit in India. On the sidelines of the 17th BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro, Prime Minister Modi also held bilateral meetings with various world leaders. PM Modi met the Prime Minister of Malaysia, Anwar bin Ibrahim. PM Modi thanked Prime Minister Ibrahim for his strong condemnation of the Pahalgam terror attack. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also met Cuba's President, Miguel Diaz-Canel Bermudez. The two leaders reviewed bilateral ties in the areas of economic cooperation, development partnership, fintech, capacity building, science and technology, disaster management, and healthcare. Besides this, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also met his Vietnamese counterpart Pham Minh Chinh on the sidelines of BRICS summit in Brazil. Bureau Report, DD India.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi shared some glimpses of his visit to Rio de Janeiro on the social media platform X. He described the Rio leg of his trip as very productive. During his visit to Rio, the Prime Minister had extensive deliberations at the BRICS summit. Prime Minister also complimented President Lula and the Brazilian government for the work during Brazil's BRICS presidency in making this platform even more effective. He said that his bilateral meetings with various world leaders will strengthen India's friendship with several nations. A story that spans continents and cultures, a royal gift that changed the course of dairy farming in an entire country. Meghna Dev, who's in Rio de Janeiro, traces the legacy of Krishna the bull that bridged two nations, India and Brazil.
A unique initiative connects Bhavnagar in Gujarat to the distant land of Brazil. The Gir bull named Krishna was given to Brazil by the then Maharaja of Bhavnagar as a gift, which sowed seeds of white revolution, of dairy revolution in Latin America. What began as a royal gift in 1960 has now blossomed into a global partnership. In the land of Bhavnagar, Gujarat, a bull named Krishna embarked on a journey beyond borders 65 years ago. Gifted to Brazil in 1960 by the Maharaja of Bhavnagar to Celson Garcia Cid, a cattle baron, this bull was not just an animal but a symbol of India's cultural ethos. The bull belonging to the Gir breed is known for its resilience, high milk yield and spiritual significance, especially in the Vaishnavite tradition where cows are considered companions of Lord Krishna.
India gifted Gir and Kankrej, two breeds of cows, to Brazil, and since then Brazil has done tremendous development, tremendous scientific development to crossbreed and better these cows to produce more milk, and that is how we are talking about white revolution in Brazil.
It was the Maharaja of Bhavnagar, Maharaja Krishna Kumar Singh Ji Gohil, who was very kind to gift the Gir cattle, precisely a Gir bull, to the Brazilian gentleman we very fondly remember as Celso Garcia Cid. And it is this relation that has helped us maintain a very, very good relationship with the people of Brazil till today. One gift from Bhavnagar has helped Brazil in a tremendous way in terms of the income that they've made from the dairy and how well they've utilized it.
Brazil has been a consistent admirer of Indian indigenous cattle breeds. Over the years, the country has developed one of the largest Gir cattle populations outside India, originally imported from Gujarat. These cows now play a key role in Brazil's dairy industry.
My grandfather bought some cows from Maharaja and very good bulls too. And he brought Krishna to Brazil, but unfortunately Krishna died in 1961. But he left a very good son called Krishna Sakina. Now we have thousands of descendants of Krishna Sakina. We thank India for this magnificent gift.
From Bhavnagar to Brazil, this was the journey of a bull named Krishna. The gesture was more than diplomacy. It's a living emblem of India's philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The world is one family. Meghna Dev's report for DD India.
Well, Indian cuisine is gaining widespread recognition globally, and it's becoming a preferred choice for international food lovers. So there was a time, in fact, when Indian food was virtually unknown in Brazil, but that scenario is changing significantly. Enterprising individuals of Indian origin are opening up restaurants. Indian cuisine is gaining popularity but through startups, and the response has been overwhelmingly positive. In fact, DD India explores some of the popular spots in Brazil where people are not only enjoying Indian food, they're also expressing their deep appreciation for the rich flavors and diversity. We can see them enjoying the food there.
Delicious. We love coming here. The food is very good. We like very much, a lot.
Very tasteful.
Well, still to come here on DD India Live. 11 people are dead in Kenya during protests after heavy police deployment. And rescuers are searching for missing girls. The Texas flood death toll has hit 90.
Welcome to Siliguri and Darjeeling.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Mark Lynn. Now, the US President Donald Trump announced 25% tariffs on imports from Japan and Korea, South Korea that is, effective from August 1, in letters shared on his Truth Social platform. He's warned any retaliatory tariff increase would be met with equivalent hikes. Currently, under the 10% levy, both nations, that's Japan and South Korea, risk higher rates amid stalled negotiations. So Trump has extended the original July 9 tariff deadline to allow more time for talks. Around a dozen countries are expected to receive similar warnings. Now, these measures are part of a broader tariff campaign, with deals only reached so far with the UK and Vietnam. The financial markets have reacted negatively, and US-listed Japanese automakers, their stocks were falling.
focused on. The president will also sign an executive order today delaying the July 9th deadline to August 1st. So the reciprocal tariff rate or these new rates that will be provided in this correspondence to these foreign leaders will be going out the door within the next month, or deals will be made. And those countries continue to negotiate with the United States. We've seen a lot of positive developments in the right direction, but the administration, the president, and his trade team want to cut the best deals for the American people and the American.
The European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has said that the European Union must show strength in the ongoing trade talks with the United States. Her comments come as von der Leyen herself is facing a European Parliament no confidence vote on Thursday. This is the latest challenge to her presidency.
When the Commission sits down with the United States to negotiate on trade and tariffs, Europe must show strength. When we stand up for Ukraine's future, Europe must show strength. Or when we go to China to defend our interests, Europe must show strength. And this strength only comes through our unity. So let us come together. Let us keep delivering for Europe. Long live Europe.
President Trump's administration has revoked the foreign terrorist organization designation for the al-Nusra Front. It's also known as the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, according to the State Department memo filed on Monday. This is a major step as Washington moves to ease sanctions on Syria. The move comes a week after President Trump had signed an executive order terminating a U.S. sanctions program on Syria to help end the country's isolation from the international financial system and building on Washington's pledge to help it rebuild after a devastating civil war. After 21 months of conflict, there is growing hope for a new ceasefire in Gaza as the U.S. President Donald Trump and the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu are set to meet in the White House shortly. This is the Israeli Prime Minister's third visit since Trump had returned to power in January. A U.S.-backed ceasefire proposal would pause the war, free Israeli hostages and send much-needed aid flooding into Gaza. It also aims to open broader talks about ending the conflict. The hope for a ceasefire between Israel and Gaza is riding high as Trump, in fact, has said that there is a good chance of this happening ahead of Netanyahu's meeting.
I think we're close to a deal on Gaza. We could have it this week. I think there's a good chance we have a deal with Hamas during the coming week, pertaining to quite a few of the hostages. Yeah. You know, we've gotten a lot of the hostages out, but pertaining to the remaining hostages, quite a few of them will be coming out. We think we'll have that done this week.
Well, Prime Minister Netanyahu said that Israeli negotiators had been given clear instructions to achieve a ceasefire under conditions that Israel accepts.
This is an opportunity to expand the circle of peace far beyond what we could have imagined before. We've already transformed the face of Middle East beyond recognition, and we have the opportunity and ability to change it even more and bring a great future to the state of Israel, the people of Israel, and the entire Middle East. We are working to achieve the deal that has been discussed under the conditions we have agreed to. I've sent a team to negotiate with clear instructions. I believe the conversation with President Trump can definitely help advance this outcome.
Meanwhile, Israel and Hamas, they are set to hold indirect talks in Qatar. This is for the second day on Monday, aimed at securing a ceasefire and hostage deal in Gaza. Those talks have taken place. Now, the U.S. envoy Thomas Barak met with Lebanon's President Joseph Aoun at the presidential palace in Beirut. The U.S. envoy Barak, he has said that he was satisfied with the Lebanese government's response to a proposal to disarm the militant group Hezbollah. And he also said that Washington is ready to help the small crisis-hit nation emerge from its long-running political and economic crisis.
Gave us was something spectacular. In a very short period of time and a very complicated manner, I'm unbelievably satisfied with the response. Now what it takes is a parry and thrust to the details, which we're going to do. We're both committed to get to the details and get a resolution. So I'm hopeful. I'm very, very hopeful.
And the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio will visit Malaysia this week for meetings of the Southeast Asian nations in his first trip to Asia as America's top diplomat. The State Department billed this July 8 to 12 trip as a move to reaffirm Washington's commitment to the Indo-Pacific. The U.S. President Donald Trump announced plans for tariffs on Malaysia and 5 other countries in the 10-member Association of Southeast Asian Nations, whose ministers Rubio will join for meetings in the Malaysian capital, Kuala Lumpur. Malaysia faces a 25% tariff, Laos and Myanmar 40%, Cambodia and the US ally Thailand 36%, and Indonesia 32%. Rubio will seek to firm up US relationships with partners and allies unnerved by Trump's global tariff strategy. Trump's announcements, they seemed certain to make that task harder. 11 people died across Kenya during the anti-government demonstrations on Monday following clashes between police and protesters in the capital Nairobi on the outskirts there. The death of the blogger Albert Ojwang in police custody last month has given the protests fresh impetus, fueling anger among the authorities and bringing hundreds onto the streets. Kenya's police said 11 people had died while 52 officers had been injured. It did not say who was responsible for the killings. Police used tear gas and water cannons on Monday to disperse hundreds of demonstrators advancing along the road connecting Kagambi to downtown Nairobi. Now, the government-funded Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, they've said that they saw numerous hooded officers. They were not in uniform, but they were traveling in unmarked vehicles as well. Well, a state of emergency in Texas has been declared, as we know, and the deadly flash floods there have left a trail of devastation and heartbreak. Dozens are still missing. Entire communities are underwater. Rescuers are working round the clock in a desperate race against time to save lives. Let's look at this report.
Rescuers are racing against time to locate dozens still missing, including children, after deadly flash floods swept through parts of Texas. The catastrophe has already claimed more than 80 lives. Authorities have warned of more heavy rains on the way.
There are dangers over the next 24 to 48 hours that could pose public safety threats to people in these regions. There is heavy rainfall that's already occurred, and there's more heavy rainfall that's expected that will lead to potential flash flooding broadly in these regions. The Big Country, Concho Valley, Central Texas, and once again, Kerrville.
Evacuations are in full swing, from military veterans to local volunteers. Hundreds have joined hands in a desperate search for survivors, braving dangerous waters and debris-strewn streets.
It's gut-wrenching watching all of this happen. I mean, it happened so fast, and I wanted to come out sooner, but I also didn't want to be in the way of waiting for things to get done.
US President Donald Trump, meanwhile, announced he may visit the devastated region on Friday. The White House says his administration is in constant touch with Texas Governor Greg Abbott.
I'll tell you, if you look at that water situation that all is, and that was really the Biden setup. That was not our setup. But I wouldn't blame Biden for it either. I would just say this is a 100-year catastrophe, and it's just so horrible to watch. Probably on Friday. We wanted to leave a little time. I would have done it today, but we'd just be in their way. Probably Friday.
In the face of nature's fury, Texas is showing the true strength of its spirited communities coming together, rescuers defying all odds, and a state of refusing to give up hope. As the search continues and more rains threatens, the fight to save lives goes on. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, from storms to volcanic eruptions, natural disasters have brought life to a standstill across Asia, leading to evacuations and closure of business. Let's look at this report.
Natural disasters have been taking a toll across Asia as climate change makes the weather more and more unpredictable. Typhoon Dennis lashed southern Taiwan with heavy rains and strong winds in a rare hit to the island's densely populated west coast. Over 3,000 people have been evacuated due to the typhoon, which has triggered at least 10 landslides. The storm has also forced closure of businesses and schools. Buildings, including a temple, have been damaged. Taiwan is frequently struck by typhoons, but they generally land along the mountainous and sparsely populated east coast. Eastern China has also been on high alert due to the typhoon, with Coast Guard officers assisting fishermen in evacuation plans. Dozens of residents have evacuated remote islands in southern Japan that have been shaken by nearly 1,600 quakes in recent weeks. While no significant damage has been reported on the hardest hit Akoseki Island, the almost non-stop tremors since June 21st have created panic among locals. Experts believe an underwater volcano and flows of magma might be the cause. They have been unable to predict how long the tremors will continue. Situated on the Pacific Ring of Fire, Japan is one of the world's most earthquake-prone nations. In Indonesia, a volcano erupted just weeks after it caused dozens of flight cancellations to and from the popular resort island of Bali.
We all panicked because the eruption has been going on since earlier. It's really made us panic. And in my opinion, this is the biggest eruption so far.
Local officials have warned of hazardous debris flow from the volcano into nearby residential areas, which are also close to rivers. Indonesia has more than 120 active volcanoes. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India Live. Let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, get the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. It's available on Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code and download it now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Mark Lynn from all of us here in Delhi. Thank you very much for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.